Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Bible study. What do you want to talk about today? Oh, you didn't come with any ideas? I guess we'll talk about 1 Chronicles chapter 4 then. 1 Chronicles chapter 4 is the topic of our Bible study. There is a free PDF on our website, and there's a link down in the description if you're watching the YouTube video. When was Chronicles written? Do you remember? Well, we talked about it. It wasn't contemporary to the events that it records. It was actually written several hundred years after King David lived, probably after the exile in Babylon that the people of Judah had to endure. So it's hundreds of years after David, but it's about the life and the reign of King David, which would have spanned from approximately 1055 BC to 1015 BC, about 40 years. Who are our key characters going to be in this chapter? Well, if you're with us for the first couple chapters, you know that they were genealogies. Records of family lines, names, many names of descendants after descendants. These allowed the Israelite people to trace their heritage and where they had come from and who was part of their family. Well, chapter 4 is the same. Now, in chapter 4 specifically, we're going to be talking about the genealogy of two patriarchs and their families. Those were the sons of Jacob, or Israel, Judah and Simeon. So we're going to be talking about the families of Judah and Simeon in chapter 4. That takes us over then to our map. Judah and Simeon had an allotted portion of land where their families lived in the Promised Land. You'll see it's down to the south of the map, on the west side of the Dead Sea. Judah in the darker gray, and then Simeon in the lighter gray, kind of within the territory of Judah. Now, as we go over to our outline section, I'll be honest, I don't have a ton to say about this chapter. If you've read it, you kind of know, you see all the names. I've broken it down into two sections. Verses 1 through 23, the family line of Judah is the first section. So the first 23 verses of chapter 4 contain a genealogy of the descendants of Judah. Judah would have a lot of kids, they would have a lot of kids, and they would eventually become the tribe of Judah, which numerically speaking was the biggest tribe in Israel. Special attention is given in the genealogy to a guy named Jabez. His short little prayer is recorded, and in his prayer he asks God to bless him and to keep him safe. So it's interesting that the author takes some time to set that little section aside out of the genealogy to give Jabez this special attention. It speaks very highly of him. And then in verses 24 through 43, the family line of Simeon. So the genealogy of Simeon is the topic of the second half of the chapter. The chronicle writer documents some of the prominent men who came out of the line of Simeon and some of their accomplishments. And so there you go. That is 1 Chronicles chapter 4. Now, what are we going to do for an application in this chapter? Well, I've got one. I think we can take one from Jabez. Most of us, if we're remembered at all, will probably only appear in the record of history as a name on an obscure family tree, like a lot of these guys who we don't know anything about. Their name just pops up here. If you do happen to stand out at all, though, make sure it's for a good reason. Try to stand out for a similar reason to Jabez. He stood out from his relatives because of his faith and because of his reliance on God. And if you're going to stand out, that's a good reason. Thanks for joining me for another genealogy chapter. We've got, I think, 5 more to go until we hit the historical narrative about David's reign, so just hang tight.